Yo, welcome back to Sports Now with Darius Aiden. I'm Darius Adams. Thanks to you much and thank you for joining us in a brand new episode on a brand new week on Sports Now with Darius Aiden. Everyone, make sure to go ahead and get out the way. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to comment down below and make sure to hit that bell for post notifications for every video and update from our channel. Aiden, today we have a very interesting subject today. We're talking about. It's another edition of our NBA team preview, and today we're talking about one of the most talked teams surrounding the NBA, with two of the best players in the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, Aiden, they have those two superstars, KD, Kevin Durant, the former MVP of the league. I go on, but guess we got to get the episode out of the way first. Got to get the intro out of the way first. Kevin Durant, coming off of that Achilles injury that he suffered in the 2019 NBA Finals, he has missed about a year and a half, and he's coming back to the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, they have one of the most skilled point guards, one of the most skilled players to ever play the game, in Kyrie Irving, phenomenal Kyrie Irving. Of course, they have other role players. They really did not have an available offseason aiding. They resigned Joe Harris, the sharpshooter, right? They still have the former All-Star DeAndre Jordan. You can't forget about Spencer Dinwiddie, Caris LeVert, Jared Allen as well, and some other pieces as well. Aiden. Of course, they hired Steve Nash as the coach earlier in the year, and they brought in a former NBA coach and former coach of the Nets coach, Steve Nash, and Mike D'Antoni. He's now the assistant coach along with Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash's former teammate when they were a part of the Phoenix Suns. So, Aiden, we're going to jump right into it with the first question. Aiden, what is your prediction, and what are your expectations for the Brooklyn Nets going into this season?
They're a playoff team. It's very obvious. If they're not a playoff team, then we're going to need to ask some serious questions. I've been very vocal about how do I put this? I've been very vocal about my distrust that the Nets will make it extremely far in the in the playoffs. I've said many times that they are a first round, maybe second round out team. I see their peak as the second round. I don't put all my faith in first-year head coaches, and that was my main reasoning going in. I've also got some other reasons that I'd had yet to state yet, but that's what everybody took from my argument. Let me make something clear. First of all, I am not saying that Steve Nash will not be a successful coach in the NBA. I am not saying that he can't succeed on a higher level that we've seen from other first-year coaches. I'm simply saying that with this age that we've never seen, and with this team that's newly assembled, and with some of the things that have happened within that organization, it'd be a little bit hard for anybody to get acclimated to that system quickly. Now, I know that they've had their off season, and they went and they got swept in the playoffs. They had no Kyrie, no KD. That was just basically a tester. That was just seeing what the team could do without KD or without Kyrie. I am not saying that I don't believe in Steve Nash. I am vocally saying that I have my concerns. Now, obviously, he has help in Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni is going to get the offense right. What I am concerned about is simply not just the offense, but one, how Kyrie and KD are going to jump. Not how they're going to be pals and be pounding around and high fiving every time he scores, makes a three, or when he dunks on somebody. Yeah, I know they're friends. I know they're pals. Yada yada yada. I know that what they have is a good team camaraderie and a good team bond. But what I am trying to say is that I don't know how this offense is going to be assembled. I'm excited to see this offense. I just don't know how it's going to be assembled. Second of all, and I know it feels like I'm rambling, but I have to get all my thoughts out on the page before we just go into all the meat of this argument. Second of all, I haven't seen this defense in action yet. We've obviously seen Kyrie's defense before. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. I'll just put it like that. He is an amazing, skillful player. He's just lacking slightly in the defensive category, and I think you can agree with me on that, Darius. However, Kevin Durant is not lacking in the defensive category. He's an amazing defensive player. although I have some doubts from obviously from a medical standpoint and from seeing some other guys with those type of injuries, I can obviously have my doubts, right? We can also say, well, we've seen guys like Dominique Wilkins come up and do stuff like that. Well, Dominique Wilkins' play style was substantially different from the play style of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's obviously a big man, big body in the paint, right? He's not necessarily the most aggressive rebounder, right? He can dunk it on you, but he's not the most powerful guy, right? He is more of a more elusive, hit the three, shoot from anywhere on the court type of guy. We know this, we've seen this, and I'm concerned that his play style I know, in fact, that his play style will take a toll and might have to change a little bit because of this injury, right? So those are just my concerns. I had to get those out on the paper before we got into the beef and the meat of this argument. I just had to make a full-on disclaimer. Sorry about that, Darius.
And in the Brooklyn Nets are Eastern Conference Finals team. That's obvious, man. They are an Eastern Conference Finals team, and I think one factor that plays into that is they play in a relatively weak conference in the Eastern Conference. They really, of course, you still have the Milwaukee Bucks, be honest. You still have the Philadelphia 76ers. You still have the Boston Celtics, right? The Miami Heat, right? I could go on and on. There's still some other teams out there. I think the Indiana Pacers have lost some of their talent a little bit in free agency a little bit.
Yeah, I don't see them doing too well. They did not satisfy Victor Oladipo at all. I assume that Victor will be looking for a trade either close to the end of next season.
But
I don't expect much from the Pacers.
But
right.
The Brooklyn Nets are clearly Aiden in the Eastern Conference Finals teams. Aiden, I know you have, I know you're skeptical about Kevin Durant coming back, but Aiden, don't forget that Kevin Durant pretty much had a year and a half to recover, and I believe his first game in the Brooklyn Nets uniform is going to be December the 13th for a preseason game for the Brooklyn Nets. And Aiden, I think Kevin Durant will be perfectly fine. I think from multiple reports, from multiple sources, I've heard that Kevin Durant is 100%. Jarrett Allen, the center for the Brooklyn Nets, the young stud, he said that KD is back. That's plain and simple. KD is back. Kevin Durant is back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, look, Aiden, I've had some problems with Kyrie Irving when it comes to a leadership role.
Had many problems with Kyrie Irving, correct? That statement.
Leadership role from a leadership perspective. But Aiden, I have never said that Kyrie Irving was not a phenomenal player. I have not said that Kyrie Irving was not one of the most skilled players this game has ever seen. I have never said that Kyrie Irving will not go out there on that court and will not deliver. He is a straight bucket getter, and that goes for Kevin Durant also. And Aiden, when I look at the way the Brooklyn Nets front office and Steve Marks, Steve Nash, Mike D'Antoni, and the rest of the Nets front office, when they constructed this team, you already had some pieces, right? As we know, Kyrie Irving, he was pretty much injury prone last season, as he always has throughout his career, right? Kevin Durant missed the entire season last season. But Aiden, we saw some youngsters out there. We saw Caris LeVert average almost 20 points per game for the Brooklyn Nets last season. We saw Spencer Dinwiddie do his thing. We saw DeAndre Jordan, even though it's not the same DeAndre Jordan.
Okay. I know about those options. I have to ask you a question real quick. Who do you believe is their consistent third scoring option on that team? The consistent third scoring option. Yeah.
I think it's between Caris LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Oh, well, no, I asked for a person, not several players.
I said between. I can't pick and choose.
You can't pick. Okay.
If I had to choose a definite person, I would choose Caris LeVert. I would choose Caris LeVert. And, Aiden, as a continue, other pieces on this roster as well, DeAndre Jordan, he's at the same DeAndre Jordan. Like when he was with the Clippers, he's not lobster DeAndre Jordan. But guess what? He's still a paint presence. He's still a defensive presence, right? He still gives the Brooklyn Nets some size when it comes to post defense and post offense, right? You saw Jarrett Allen, the young stud. We've seen what he can do, right? Joe Harris, the Brooklyn Nets re-signed him in the offseason. A sharpshooter, straight bucket getter. Aiden, I really like this offense. I think the Brooklyn Nets are building like a 3-and-D type of team. And I think with
Uh-oh.
two phenomenal forwards and slash centers, and DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen. I think the Brooklyn Nets could really.
How would Mike D'Antoni's 3-and-D team work out real quick, just so the audience will know?
Aiden, did Mike D'Antoni have a big man?
Exactly. He didn't have a big man. How
But
are
one
you concerned at all? Are you concerned
thing,
at all on how Mike D'Antoni is going to work him into the system?
Mike D'Antoni is not the coach. Steve Nash is. Last time I checked, Mike D'Antoni is the assistant. Steve Nash is the head coach. Aiden, let me address your point about
Steve Nash, before this, was only a player development coach. He develops players. That's what he does. That's his thing. I have no doubt that he can be a great leader. He was an amazing player. He can become a great leader. I have no doubt that he can lead this team. I have doubts about his ability to construct a scheme.
Aiden. Have you forgotten that Steve Nash is one of the smartest players to ever play the game?
Yes, I have never forgotten that Steve Nash is one of the smartest players.
And
I
that
had to repeat it 3 times so you could hear me, because
that
he's a player.
understands schemes. That means he understands schemes. And guess what, Aiden? Steve Nash has been in the NBA for over 20 plus years. He has worked alongside Mike D'Antoni. That's what he brought him in. He brought in Amari Stoudemire, his former head coach. Aiden, I don't think you're giving Steve Nash a fair chance. Aiden,
You're right. I'm not. Until I see what he can do, I'm not.
Aiden, he has two superstars, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Guess what, Aiden?
He is a guy coming off an Achilles injury and another guy who's proven that he can't consistently stay healthy.
Aiden.
As much as how talented Kyrie is, he hasn't proven that he can stay healthy. And I obviously have the right to express some doubts of a 30-year-old coming from an Achilles injury.
Aiden, you mentioned Dominique Wilkins coming back from the Achilles injury at age 32. How old is Kevin Durant? I believe he's 32 years old. Aiden, I know.
Dominique Wilkins' playstyle and Kevin Durant's playstyles are incomparable.
Let me finish. Let me speak, please. Zip it,
Okay.
man. Look, I know Dominique Wilkins and Kevin Durant play in two different eras. But guess what? When Dominique Wilkins came back from his Achilles injury, he was playing in a more physical era. Kevin Durant.
You're right. And because of that physical era, after the year he came back, his stats did dip. He came back. You were going to say that he came back bigger and better than ever. Yes, he did for about 1 to 2 seasons.
Wait, Aiden, answer this question. How many All-NBA teams did Dominique Wilkins make after he came back from his Achilles injury? Please.
I believe it was 2.
Please.
It was 2.
Yes.
It was 2.
All-NBA teams in one of the most popular eras in the NBA. I'm pretty sure, wasn't that 91, 90?
Like I said, it was 1 or 2 years. Then he took the dip.
Aiden, you're talking about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, you have forgotten
who Kevin Durant is. I've never forgotten who Kevin Durant is.
You have forgotten how great this man is. The former MVP of the league, the 2-time Finals MVP, Aiden, Kevin Durant, man. Kevin Durant. Do I have to inform you? Do I have to explain to you how great this player is? When he is healthy, he's top 5. Top 5 easily. Top 5 easily. Easily. No ands, if, or buts about it. And Aiden, you look at Steve Nash. Now, is he gonna make some mistakes going along the way? Yes, but will he learn from his mistakes? Yes, that's what the mistakes are for. So you can learn from them. And I think that's the perfect scenario for Steve Nash. And I think bringing in Mike D'Antoni was a perfect situation for him because he is a former head coach. He could help Steve Nash, and he brought in Amari Stoudemire as another assistant coach. I think he could help them from a player development standpoint, like Steve Nash did when he was a member of the Golden State Warriors. And Aiden, with this Brooklyn Nets team, I mentioned the way they were constructed, right? A 3-and-D type of team. That gives more room for Kevin Durant. This basis for getting back into his groove. Kyrie Irving, do I expect him to play 82 games this season? You never know. You never know, Aiden. But guess what? What I know is that both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are NBA champions and that they get buckets. And they get buckets. And the way this roster is constructed, I'm going to keep saying this again. I see them as an Eastern Conference Finals team. I know you have other teams in this conference, right? You have Boston. They're pretty stacked, right? With Kemba, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and them. Right? You can't forget about Toronto. You saw Pascal Siakam, right? Even though the Raptors did lose on free agency, losing both Marcus Gasol and Serge Ibaka.
Raptors are definitely lacking in talent this year coming back, yes.
right? You still have Giannis and the Bucks. You can't forget about them, even though they've had some disappointments in the playoffs these past couple of seasons, right? I can go on. Excuse me. Can't forget about the Miami Heat, the reigning Eastern Conference champs, right? You can't forget about them. But Aiden, I think this is the year that the Brooklyn Nets could make a run. They can make a run. Do I believe they're gonna make? Do I believe they're gonna win the championship this year? I don't think so. I don't think so. But are they Eastern Conference Finals team, and are they a definite contender? Yes, yes.
Yeah, they're in East. Okay, okay. Even if they do make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, what every East team is lacking and what we constantly knock them for is having a built roster top to bottom. We can't ignore everything. Right. We've named role players. We can name all that stuff like this. The most complete team, not from a skill standpoint, but from a team standpoint, last year was the Raptors, and you can agree with me on that, right? They had one of the best coaches in the league, right? And they had not a team of super amazing superstars and not super athletic guys. They had a bunch of all stars and middle of the pack players who just did their jobs, right? They've lost a lot of guys. I don't see them as the most complete team in the East right now. But every team in the East is lacking is the consistent third guy and the great guy coming off the bench. I don't see that in the Eastern Conference, which is why we always have this sort of charade with the East constantly year after year after year because we're like, oh, well, let's put Giannis and the Bucks in there. They just best team. They got the best player in the world, right? We should just put Giannis and the Bucks right there. Oh, they get taken out in the second round. We should put the Celtics in there. They got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker. They have the most young athletic core that I've seen in a long time, right? I have amazing faith in them. But again and again and again, they have disappointed me in the utmost of obscure situations. Then we have the Heat. The Heat, I don't know if they can replicate the magic they had last season again. I don't know. 76ers, Ben Simmons has come back from an injury. Joel Embiid has never been healthy for an entire season. They've got Doc Rivers, who I've expressed many doubts for. And it is completely absurd to expect them to come back and be bigger and better. They're missing some things. They are definitely missing some things. Obviously, they lost some guys off the bench, right? They don't have the consistent super athletic guard that can get you those that can make you those in and out points that can just run the court, right? Obviously, Ben Simmons is the ideal point forward, even though he's seen some injuries. I think he can still be that player, but I still need a consistent athletic guard. It doesn't have to be a super athletic guard. It could be a middle pack athletic guard, and they didn't do that kind of thing. I am extremely disappointed, and I know it seems like I'm rambling, but I have to get some stuff out. I am extremely disappointed that no teams in the Eastern Conference made even a attempt to move up in the draft and get some players. We did a draft live stream. Darius, that wasn't at all what we thought it was going to be. It was one of the most boring, paper-to-paper set drafts we have ever been a part of. You can agree with me on that. So I'm not – yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go.
I mean, look, Aiden, as you mentioned, paper to paper, but when you look at the top teams in the league, I don't think they really need that like ideal high draft pick. And even if they did want to, how much are you willing to give up? And I don't think
Boston Celtics were 14. They had the perfect opportunity. The Boston Celtics were 14, as I said. They had the perfect opportunity to snatch up Cole Anthony, yet they let him drop to Orlando. That was inexcusable.
Where I don't look. You look at, as you mentioned, Boston Celtics and Cole Anthony. I know we're going up topic here, but Aiden, you have to look at the team fit for Cole Anthony. The Boston Celtics already have a franchise point guard and Kemba Walker, and that
Right. But Cole is more of an athletic guy. You could easily is more athletic than a Kemba Walker. I think you could easily have translated him to a consistent shooting guard or two.
But when you look at it, Aiden, as I mentioned, the Boston Celtics, they have Kemba Walker, and then they have a 100%. They 100% have a number two, a solid number two, and Jaylen Brown, and then you have other pieces as well. Yeah, don't forget about Marcus Smart, right? Coming off the bench as well, and And Jason Tatum as well. Yeah, you have a lot of pieces on that team, and I don't think if the Bucks did draft Cole Anthony in the draft, that 14th overall pick, I don't think he would be as good as a pick as we
Right.
expect.
I get your point here. I was just underwhelmed because they had 3 first-round picks and they chose to do almost nothing. That's all I'm saying.
Right, Aiden. Let's move on. The Brooklyn Nets. You know, this past season, even without Kyrie and KD, the Brooklyn Nets managed to be the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference and make the playoffs, and they got swept by the Brooklyn. Excuse me, they got swept in the first round by the Toronto Raptors. So, Aiden, I'm going to ask you this question here: the way this roster is constructed, do you see any major trades coming the Brooklyn Nets way? Aiden, we know James Harden, we know that little rumor there.
No, I don't want to put it with Mike D'Antoni. That's like putting gas to a flame. That makes absolutely no sense.
You can address that in Aiden. If the Brooklyn Nets did want to make a big trade, who do you think they should target?
I've They've got Kyrie, who's the explosive, athletic point guard, right? He's got the handles. He does all those things that you need him to do. You've got Kevin Durant, who's your big man presence. I think they should seek a point forward who can run the court. Kyrie's not the point guard. Kyrie's not the point guard who's going to consistently be passing and shoot. He's a scorer. He's a scorer. He's a consistent number one scorer, right? And KD is that as well. So I think they need a guy who's not particularly um, enthusiastic about constantly having the ball in his hands and can do things without having the ball in his hands. I think they could get it if they would have gotten a guy like Ben Simmons. That would have been a great fit for him. But they obviously can't get a guy like Ben Simmons because they don't have enough trade assets to appetize. I'm sorry, I have to use a better word there, to entice the 76ers in that situation. That would be my ideal guy to put them there. Or what they could do would be take – this is a very – I am trying to piece together because I'm taking these long pauses because I'm trying to piece together what exactly do they need, because they've got role players who can do the things that the guys that I can name can do. They got role players who can do it, just not on a consistent high level, right? Then they've got Kyrie and KD. So I'm just going to stick with my analysis that Ben Simmons would be the perfect guy for them to get, but obviously they can't get that because they don't have enough assets to appeal to the 76ers.
Aiden, Ben Simmons is a superstar. I don't think the Brooklyn Nets should target another superstar because they already have two in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I don't think they need like a third superstar option, right? I think they need one of those solid role bench players. I think a guy that could come up in my mind. I believe they already acquired Jeff Green or JaMychal Green. I don't know which one I believe they required.
Or you know what? This just came to my mind. I am sorry I didn't say it, but this just came to my mind. Victor Oladipo. Listen. I see your reaction. It's not the most enticing thing. It's not the most prettiest thing, right? But it's a thought. He's proven that he's an all-star caliber player, right? He is, I believe, not yet reached his peak. You could get him on a lesser deal, right? Maybe. Just maybe. That's a little. I'm naming that deal because it's a little bit more possible due to his position on the Pacers. It's a little bit more possible to do that trade than obviously the Ben Simmons trade. I'm just saying.
Aiden, I think one guy that should target, I think probably like a stretch big, not a point forward in Ben Simmons, but one guy that comes to mind is he's a former All-Star. He used to forward window Magic and Nikola Vucevic, a guy who could stretch the floor, provide some good. He could provide both solid perimeter and interior defense, and he could shoot the ball and still have a phenomenal post game. And I think that would be the perfect fit for this Brooklyn Nets team. Aiden, I'm giving a fantasy scenario here. I don't think that would be realistic because the Brooklyn Nets, if they wanted to get Nikola Vucevic, who was the Orlando Magic's best player, they would have to give up too much. And I think they would have to give up guys like Spencer Dinwiddie and Joe Harris and Karis LeVert and a couple of picks as well.
Probably, yeah, definitely a first round pick.
But if we are talking dream scenario here, I think Nikola Vucevic would be the perfect fit for the Brooklyn Nets team if they wanted to add that extra piece and put the cherry on top to make them an Eastern Conference Finals lock and maybe even a Finals contender. Aiden, any final words about the Brooklyn Nets and this NBA team preview?
Haven't seen enough. That's all I'm going to end with.
No, you heard it there. Thank you for joining us on this another edition of NBA Team Preview here on Sports Sundays and Aiden. The road to 100. We're trying to hit 100 by the end of 2020, so we can have a brand new slate and a start to a brand new year, the 2021. I'm Darius Simons. That's Aiden Messon. Thank you for listening to the brand new edition of Darius Aiden. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, and make sure to hit that bell for post notifications for every video and update from the channel. Until then, everybody, peace and love.